Dave.
How would we ever know when to start? Nick!
Talking about Titleist drivers and fairway woods today.
Yeah, you got a plethora of club heads there. Let's talk about the new stuff.
So Dave, I know you're going to enjoy this because you know nothing about these.
I don't. Talk to me. I haven't heard of these yet. So I just knew that they were coming, but not what they were.
TSi 2 and 3, the Titleist Speed Initiative.
Here, that's a lot. Here we go.
Replacing the TS 2 and 3. And I think they've made some cool upgrades on these. So let's get to it. How about the TSi 3? So this is an adjustable weight driver. Just a change from the TS3, which you have over there.
Yep.
Now, can you do me a favor while I'm going to talk about these? Take the 3 that you have there and take the adjustable weight out of the back of it.
Okay, I can do that.
And while you're doing that, I'll show you how this has changed a little bit. So in this driver, you've got a weight in the back port. This is in a good place on the club. You want to have it low and as far back as you can to give you a center of gravity that doesn't start to rise as you move this around. It's adjustable in, maybe you can move this about an inch, but the weight's heavy enough where you can see a pretty significant movement of the center of gravity on this. And when Titleist asked me about these the other day, they were kind enough to send the head so that I could take them apart and measure them, because that's really the most critical step in talking about clubs that we're going to do. You might notice also, we're not back there. I don't think you really need to hit these to know if this is the driver for you. And watching random people hit golf balls doesn't tell you anything about whether or not this driver is going to be better or worse for you. Talking about the technical side of it is going to do that. I really like this driver, and then this is the one that Titleist, I saw even claimed on their website that they were the #1 driver at the US Open this year, which has probably never happened for Titleist.
Right.
I'm guessing. I don't know for sure. What I can appreciate about this one is that we measured using our tools here where the center of gravity and the MOI are, so that I can give you an objective idea of what this head is going to do and how it's going to perform. Bless you. What I can tell you about this driver is that the center of gravity is slightly toeward, which should help people who hook too much really take advantage and take a little bit of that curve off. But it's not so toeward where you can't draw this driver either.
Right.
So I really like this combo. And ultimately the projected center of gravity is about as close to the middle of the face as I've ever seen on this one. With a little bit of adjustability to move the center of gravity a little heelward or toeward so you can draw or hook it a little bit less or more. This is an awesome driver. And the way that you adjust this now is with one screw, and then this weight slides up and down and you screw it back in. This is super convenient. Meanwhile,
versus
the old way. That's why I wanted you to take that apart. What are your observations trying to take that thing apart?
I mean, it's easy to take apart, but there's obviously extra parts and pieces here, easy to lose it.
Well, it's just not super intuitive, right?
Correct.
So someone needs to know which side to put the heavier or lighter weight in.
Right.
You also need to know that one end is lighter than the other on that rod. So they did away with that system. Not that it was bad.
So that's how this old one worked, is you put it back in whichever way you wanted it to go.
Yeah,
right.
That would move the center of gravity towards the heel or the toe.
And it looks like our markings that were left on this one only moved it
just a little bit.
Tiny amounts, right?
And that's enough.
Everything's very centered.
Yeah, that's enough for a good player to be able to use it, and that's what that driver was really for. As far as benefits, though, the TS3, that MOI measurement along the x-axis, this is the one that we talk the most about, and we tout this one almost exclusively because this is your ability to control which way the ball is going to curve. So to me, this matters more for hitting the fairway.
Right.
On the XCG, you've got the old version that you're holding, 4606, and this one's 4816. So they made a pretty decent improvement on, that's substantial enough where this will be a straighter driver than the 3, which I already thought was pretty good in that regard. Now, one thing that Titleist touts that, and really all of the manufacturers are, that I'm not as interested in, but it's still worth noting, is that on the y-axis or vertically, the center of gravity and the MOI play a role in how much the ball's going to spin and how far it will go. All of the manufacturers we've talked to so far are trying to be really good on keeping the MOI on the y-axis fairly constant, so that when you hit it low on the face and the ball starts lower because of the gearing, the club head actually moves downward, imparts some extra backspin on the ball, that you don't lose a lot of ball speed off of that. That's the value that we're trying to get, where in the middle of the club you don't see a huge difference between low and high. And then the same thing from high to center. They try to keep that constant with the ball speed and the amount of backspin. So that's touted pretty highly on this one. I haven't measured the YCG yet, because to me that's just going to tell you, do you hit it a few yards further low off the face than that version, but it still isn't. That's not how I'm basing a driver. I'm looking for the XCG to really be the significant one with the draw and fade bias and hitting the fairways, which is what most bad golfers or even 70 shooters really need to do.
Right.
They don't need to hit a tiny bit low in the face and gain 3 yards. To me, that's less significant. So that's the 3. I think that one, and awesome, really to take a look at this. I know that without a shaft on it, as far as the looks, I have put a club shaft on that. I think that 3 looks awesome. That's about as traditional looking driver as I've seen in a while.
Yeah,
it's
definitely
fantastic.
does.
So I can see why the tour players love that. The ball speeds are going to be faster due to the ATI titanium face that's put into that one. And what that really is a very hard and expensive titanium that they've chosen to put in that. So it's the type of material you would use to build a tank or to make a bulletproof vest, things like that. So it is super hard, and what that should help you do, coupled with the tech in the club face itself, is get more or less deformation of the club face itself. So this will give a little bit, but not very much. You want the face to flex, but you don't want the golf ball to severely flex. That's how you lose a lot of speed. So the flexing of the face is important, but also the resiliency and the ability to be able to snap back into place. That's the critical piece for power. So super hard face. I feel like, although I haven't heard any of this on the marketing materials at all, the face is a little bit rougher.
Yeah,
you notice that?
I can feel that. You can even see there's a little texture, a little pattern to it.
Yeah. So what I've heard from other engineers along the way is that friction is not a very linear thing. You know how in wedges you want to have a very high friction face that puts a lot of spin on the ball. Same thing is the exact opposite with a driver. The more friction you have on here, the less sliding up the face there is, the more energy ball transfer. So it's a complicated subject, but I do see a lot of them starting to make some rough faces. I think that's interesting. If you want to see how much tech is in a driver, just feeling the face and recognizing if it's rough is not a bad start.
Completely different from the old model.
Yeah.
Right. From the 20.
The alignment aid is
model.
just how you would look down at that. The top alignment aid is just a small TSI now. I think that one looks really good.
Yeah.
Love that driver. I could easily walk out there right now and go play that. TSi 2. So that one I think I just gave you.
Yes.
So aesthetically on the bottom of the club, not a whole lot is different other than the weight port itself is a little bit bigger now. And I've got a host of things here. This is the weight kit that you used to get in the TS2 and 3. Just different weights that you could put in the 3 and different amounts of weight that you could change in the 2. This was your weight kit. Still get something similar like that now. We're able to adjust the weight that's in the TS2. The old TS2, that was the highest MOI driver that we had tested when you put the heavier weight into it. So you up the head weight, which in of itself always increases the MOI, but that was a super driver if you wanted to hit a fairway.
Right.
Put a 44, 43 and a half inch driver shaft into that, and even the worst golfers, we got the best results on accuracy. So the 2 now has the same titanium face, so you should get some better ball speeds. The MOI of the TS2 was 5,200. The version we've measured now is basically 5,300, so it went up 100 grams per centimeter squared. That again is a substantial enough improvement. If you got fit really nicely for a TS2, you may not see a huge change between this TSi 2, but if you go back in time another generation, the 900 series of Titleist drivers, both of these things are going to be so much longer and have the ability to really straighten out some shots with the higher MOI and the tech that's really been put into these. I would tell you if I didn't think this was a great driver, but if you haven't been fit in the last couple of years for a driver and you like the Titleist stuff, this is awesome. I mean, it's cool, super cool. Beyond that, with the 2, I think you've got the super fast face again, super hard material. All of these have a ton of adjustability to the hosels itself.
Yeah, same face, same texture, comparing the 2.
I think that's just going to be your fairway finder there too. And then you notice the CG on that one. Show that one to Scott over there. The X that's drawn on there is the horizontal projection of the CG. You notice how it's really low on the club?
Yeah, I noticed that. Really low.
It's so far back into the driver that when you start to project it on the same angle as the loft, that it moves up the face quite a bit. So that is really low, really far back, and then the center of gravity basically hits the middle of the club. Really well designed driver for everybody.
Got it.
I wouldn't say that is fade bias or draw bias at all. That is just like right in the middle is where you want to strike that for the best ball speeds. But it should be a super forgiving driver. To get into the driver shafts, this might be
I've heard some interesting stuff that these are
stories.
some super high quality shaft options. I know that's what you're going to jump into here next.
You always have options of stock or upgraded shafts.
Right. Pretty standard.
If you go get fit, like let's say at a small boutique shop where all they do is fit you for drivers, that's their income, that's what they need, that is all they do. I'm not saying anything bad about that whatsoever. That's their business.
Right.
It is not uncommon to get fit for this Titleist head, and then regardless of how good of a player you are, get a suggested shaft that you should have that might cost $500 or $600 in addition to the club head.
At that point, you're getting into anywhere from $1,000 to a $1,200 driver.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know what that normal ticket would be, but it'll be over $1,000 if you really wanted it. What Titleist has helped us recognize and help us understand is that they offer a host of really nice stock shafts that just come from the OEM. They're really good. They're super high quality. But if someone wants like what is played on tour, I've got 2 shafts here. They offer a couple more as well. One of them is the TSi white, and we have a blue option as well. The white one is going to be your lowest launch, lowest spinning. Like no matter what you do, if you spin a driver too much, this is the one you would want to play.
Might have to try that one. That's right up my alley.
Maybe. I think it's too low a spin for you, quite honestly. But
I would love to find out.
For the super high speed players, I mean, yeah, we can definitely try that one. And then the TSi blue, which is a little bit more of just your medium launch, medium spin relative to that white one. And then a brand new hazardous RDX smoke. I like this one because it looks really cool. It is all black, a little bit of the hazardous paint scheme on the back of it here, but this is a good looking shaft.
That would go very well with that club head, right?
Both of these are the legit highest quality materials that either of these manufacturers makes. That's the difference between the stock OEM, which I want to get into for another day, but the stock OEM versus the upgrade shafts. It's really just the paint. They can make the paint look exactly the same, but have 2 radically different shafts.
Right. So these are the real deal, right? You've heard of that for a long time where a company gets the hazardous, and this does not say this, but it would say something like hazardous by Titleist or whatever. Yeah. And it's a paint job onto a lesser quality shaft.
And now the shaft companies aren't even trying to hide it in some cases. It'll just say exactly the same graphics.
Yeah.
And it's up to the non-educated, naive consumer who doesn't spend their time trying to learn about these, because why would you? And your fitter to help you determine if the shaft is going to be the right one for you or not. So I applaud what they're doing here. Now here's how this breaks down. The driver itself is $549. It's more expensive than in the past because this ATI metal is so expensive to manufacture, make, and buy. So while it's a superior product, it costs $50 more than the previous drivers did. In addition, you can get all the stock choices of shafts that you want. And most people, I will tell you, fit perfectly fine into the really good stock OEM shafts. And they aren't just plain shafts made by Titleist, they're hazardous shafts. You have the TSi shaft, you have a nice golf clubs. But if you want the highest quality materials, you can do that too. You might hit these a little straighter, might hit them a little further. You really won't know until you hit them. I'm not saying that everybody who plays golf needs those, but the pricing now is only $200 for those upgraded shafts. So you went from $549 for your stock.
Yep. You
could buy a driver from a club store that just makes and builds clubs, and that's all their income for $1,200. Or you can find the same upgraded awesome shaft in the same Titleist head, and you can get that from us now for $750, $200 upgrade.
Yep.
Relative to
$750 total, pricing. Where from those boutiques that you're talking about, it's $700-ish just for the shaft itself.
Yeah. So yeah, you'll always get charged for the club itself, and that's just the head that you're going to use out of the club. Right. And then in addition of the shaft itself.
And whether you're talking about a $700 shaft upgrade at a boutique or even just going to the $200, go get fit. Like come see us, and before you go invest that extra money, know that this is the right one for you. And we're going to shoot you straight. We're going to help you understand whether you can just get into the stock one and save a few bucks, or if this one performs better, we're going to show you that and let you make an informed decision.
Our coaches aren't paid just basically if they sell golf clubs or not. That's not at all how our business works. So they're interested in helping you do better. I think that covers it basically for the driver. All in all, I think a super improvement over last year. I really like the look of the 2 and the 3. I'm super excited to see what happens with the 2 with the heavy weight again and test that on our MOI calculations that we can make. But now you can get some cool shafts. I think those are going to be awesome. really is. Fairway woods. I think I did not hand you these, so check
Nope,
this one
I have
out.
not.
Here's your TS3.
Okay.
That would be probably a little bit more of a better player club. The launch itself might have a touch more spin, not quite as forgiving, but still a really good product for sure.
Great looking club.
You see the weight track again, it has the same ports.
Yep.
You can take that one apart if you're bored. Otherwise, I'll show you what's inside of it. And then these are the previous versions. So one end, like Dave was suggesting, is heavier than another one. We went all out a total different direction with Titleist this year, and the weight itself is covered underneath the sole plate. So it's a cool presentation in of itself just to unscrew this, and as it rises up, you have a weight in here that you can slide around towards the toe, make it a little more fade bias, towards the heel, make it a little more draw bias, and then you simply screw that thing in. So more intuitive, I guess, is still the way I'm trying to stick with that. And now you've got a draw bias fairway wood. That's their Mac Daddy of which way can you curve that. TS2 has an adjustable weight again, so you can go heavier or lighter on that one.
Yep.
It still has the active recoil channel, so the same thing that the 3 has. But now we've got just a different way of presenting it. A little bit wider channel in the new one.
Yep.
So what this is almost think of it as whether or not Titleist would want me to say this, it's basically a rubber piece in here that's helping the face flex into it, but still keep your ball speed super high. Same analogy again for why fairway woods are going so far. The face is flexed, the ball doesn't compress as much, or I should say deform. It's not really compressing, it's just changing shape and then launches off from there. So that's been common in a lot of different golf clubs these days, but if you haven't been fit for a fairway wood in a while, it's an exciting time to do that because the maybe 10 years ago, fairway woods were still being built more similar to irons than they were drivers. They weren't made for the ball speed. They weren't made to launch the super high, spin it low, and go very far. That is totally different now. To pull out a 3 wood that I would have had maybe 10 years ago, and now I might have 30 yards of distance built into that. So same thing goes for the shaft options as well, of everything that you can get, but both of these look really nice. Here's the compare that 3 versus the other 3.
Yeah.
And what do you see when you look down there that maybe looks different as you would from the playing position?
I see a little bit more the design of the head. And I like the look of this. Looks like it's not quite as fat in the back heel area, off the back side, right? A little bit more of the kind of, really it's a traditional Titleist shape in the teardrop design of both their drivers and their fairway woods.
Yep.
And then the weight port that you just showed, that's a very cool way to do it.
Yeah.
So
little shallower face in the new TSi 2. The bottom of the club looks really cool, although it's like the least useful thing to talk about with a golf club. It still is, it looks nice. If you grab this off a rack, you'll be impressed. And then I still like the sight alignment as well, moving away from the couple double triangles versus just the TSi measurement. It's pretty neat in there. So next up after that, they're going to likely introduce some version of what I think the TS1 is. And this is a super light head. You could swing this faster and the ball would go really far. And then a TS4 replacement, which might be the most exciting one for the better golfers. But if you liked any of the stuff from last year, you'll like this as well.
Some fun stuff that we've been seeing come out on this show, and this is gonna, kind of keep the ball rolling there with regards to just new product offerings and new things to try and get you into the right equipment that suits your game.
So you said it right. You need to get fit for any driver that you buy. Don't walk into a big box retailer or just try your buddy's club and think, I've got it. This is mine. It is a minimal investment to get fit for a club, in which case we can fit you really nicely for a TSi 2 or 3 and then make sure that you enjoy it for as long as you want to keep it until something better comes out in the tech world. Not that you just stumble across a better driver.
We know that consumers love instant gratification. Don't do that with golf clubs.
You can get that same feeling coming in.
You're going to get it 5 to 10 days later if we have to order it and get it sent. So get fit, get the right stuff. It's going to matter a lot for your game.
I just hate when people buy a driver and they spend 3 times as much as they should on it to begin with. And then in a couple of months or so, they're questioning whether or not it's even the right one for them, or it just turns into a garage ornament that you're just waiting to put on eBay that has no residual value left to it. Get something that you're going to be able to play with and you have a ton of confidence in.
Yeah, don't go to the boutique shops that are trying to champion their way and pioneer their way into this stuff and are charging you too much. come get this from us. Very affordable, very, very high quality, even if you go with the 749 option.
Good advice.
There you go. There you
Thanks,
have it.
Dave.
Thanks, Nick.